BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform. Your number one source for all sports betting action. Got baseball in full swing. You got the postseason going on in the NHL, the NBA. You got the Derby next week. It's all right there for you. Latest odds, scores, live in-game betting. Do it all while the games are being played. Largest selection of odds on everything, including the UFC, MLB, NHL. BetOnline remains the number one online source for all of your wagering information. And then, while you got a little time, go to the BetOnline Casino, Vegas-style games, poker, live casino. BetOnline, the game starts here. And we welcome you to another edition of Bleav in Giants. Bob Papa, two-time Super Bowl champion Carl Banks. And Carl, exciting night if you're a Giants fan, as the Giants get Abdul Carter in the draft last night with the third overall pick and then trade back into the first round. And they get Jaxson Dart, Jaxson Dart, so they go get their quarterback. Your reaction to their moves, and then I want to get your take on Carter and Dart, especially Carter.
I thought it was an excellent draft, and I know a lot of people were kind of stressing that, oh, the Giants shouldn't force a pick at quarterback, or why would they trade back into the first round? But I think as the draft went on, you start to understand why they did what they did in terms of Jaxson Dart, because he was their guy. And with the way Sanders was sliding down the draft, it was no guarantee that Dart was going to be there when that second round hit. So got that part. I love the Carter selection.
You spent a lot of time studying Abdul Carter.
Yeah.
Watched a lot of tape, didn't you?
Yeah. So I watched probably 1,000 snaps of the kid, maybe more, when you take, and rewind and really analyze plays. And so I think the excitement around this kid is completely justified. He can literally draw offensive penalty on every single pass rush. He's just that good. People got a chance to see the highlights. When we're talking about him, all we've seen is just this quick burst, this bend, and this explosion from him. And I wanted to look at it from a different standpoint. I really wanted to analyze Abdul Carter. And people ask me, how are they going to play all three of the guys? That's pretty easy, right? On passing situations, it's really easy. Because you can move him inside. He's really good over centers and guards, right? Or you can keep him outside, keep Burns outside, and put Tibbs inside next to Dexter. And that's a whole nother set of problems for an offensive line in obvious pass situations, because Tibbs is strong. He's very athletic. And you combine that with an athletic Dexter Lawrence, who's an ox, and two guys on the corner, right? So it gives you so much versatility, and that's how you play those guys together on third down, right? And you don't even compromise the integrity of your other back-end personnel. I'm going to say this right now, and it's kind of my sober take for the fans who are super excited. He's not going to be an every down player walking through the door. And the reason I say that, and after I watched all this film and I got a chance to really digest it. And, I think the world of Dan Schneier. And so he and I just started messaging each other, because I was like, okay, I get what everybody sees, but I also get what they're not seeing right now. He's not going to be an every down player walking through the door. Now, when the season starts, that could change, but I don't think it is going to change that fast. And I'm going to describe Abdul Carter as a kid with a lot of tools, and he just needs an instruction manual. He's got everything, but he doesn't have the instruction manual yet. Andre Patterson's going to be great for him, right? People are saying, oh, he's got great hands, he's got great hands. You haven't even seen the level of which his hand play will come in and will come to fruition or manifest itself once he understands the instruction manual. If you guys want a sober look, and this did not deter my excitement for him, but it just gives me some grounding and saying, okay, here's where he's got to be. Take a look at the West Virginia game. West Virginia punched him in the mouth. They rolled on him. They held him. They mugged him, right? A lot of penalties that weren't called. But it showed you, okay, he's going to struggle a little bit until he gets this instruction manual figured out, right? You'll look at this, and if you're not looking at it the right way, you'll look at it and say, he let a tight end block him. Oh my God, look at his hands. He just got hooked on the edge. Or, boy, he comes across the line of scrimmage and somebody just put their helmet in his chest. All fixable things. Because after the West Virginia game, you could tell they talked to him about a few things because he was running upfield and getting trapped, Bob. And I mean, they were putting the helmet in his chest and it basically depleted him, right? Next game, he's coming across the line of scrimmage and his pads are down. They were running counters at him and he hadn't quite figured out what he's supposed to do on those. Because my assumption is that at Penn State, he was so good, they just said, go get him. Right? In the NFL, there can be some go get him, a lot of go get him with him, but he's going to have to know
be technique with it.
Well, it's got to be technique with it, and you got to understand all the tools, right? I see a wicked spin move that he uses every once in a while, right? When he learns how to set these things up, watch out, right? But when you look at this West Virginia, and I encourage everybody to watch this West Virginia game because we've seen the highlights. But West Virginia gives you a true picture of what he's going to see at the NFL level. They game planned him. The rest of the teams were like, good luck. You know, you guys, we're going to try to contain this Carter kid. West Virginia game planned him. They had something every single play for him, right? And he still made plays. But, you know, tight ends blocked him. Trap blocks was hitting him. He didn't know which way to play the counter, whether he's supposed to go around it or underneath it. Doesn't shy away from contact. So he's not a soft kid. But he got mugged and he got game planned in the West Virginia game. And what I saw is a kid who's got violent hands who doesn't quite know how to use them, right? He's got a punch. He gets reached on one play and he punches. He's got a dominant left hand and he punches, but he doesn't bring his body with him, right? So he's punching and his feet are here and he's still getting blocked. Or on the right, when he lines up on the right side, and oh, by the way, he's ambidextrous when it comes to his pass rush. He looks the same on both sides of the ball, meaning that bend and that speed. But on the right side, he's getting hooked. Dominant left hand pushes the shoulder up, and he's still getting hooked, right? He's got to get the right hand dominant. Tools. So it's not like he doesn't have them. He just has the instruction manual hasn't been fully explored.
Sounds like he needs to go to the school of Carl Banks.
Well, listen, Carl ain't coaching. That's Shane Bowen and staff. So, oh, look.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, you could go to shop.bleav.com to get your Bleav in Giants mug if you want to get yourself a coffee mug.
And speaking of mugs, they mugged him at the West Virginia game. So that's why I say, how is he going to play? When people ask me how is he going to play, all three guys? Well, I know for sure on third downs he's going to be there. He's not an every down guy walking through the door because he's vulnerable right now because, again, that instruction manual, he's got every tool and capable of every one of them.
And he's only 21. We're so
Right.
used to these COVID kids
Right.
and these NIL transfers that, the guys are getting older as they're coming into the league. He's like kind of more of the appropriate age. He's just younger.
Yeah. And so he's only going to get better. And what I look at and what I'm going to put this word out there, and people that are fans of movies, martial arts movies, and if you're a music buff, I'm going to put the word triad out there because that's what Burns, Tibbs, and Carter are going to be. They're going to be a triad. If you're looking at it from the martial arts movie, they'll be like organized crime. They'll be extorting your offensive line, right? They'll be doing everything. But if you look at it from a music standpoint, it's a composition of harmony, improvisation, and structure. That's a triad. And those three players will give this defense those three things: harmony, improv, and structure. But when you look at it from an entertainment standpoint, they're a deadly triad. I mean, they're going to be good, but there's some things that this 21-year-old, once he uncorks it, and Andre Patterson really gets working with him. And also, by the way, he's going to learn a lot from Kayvon Thibodeau. And I don't know why this is dumbass narrative that he can't play the run. He's one of the better run edge guys out there. And he's got great hands.
You're talking about Thibodeau now, right?
Yes.
Well, I was on the instant reaction for the Giants last night, and I was saying to Schmelk and Sean O'Hara, I said, I think the Giants are going to pick up the fifth-year option of Thibodeau. Mm-hmm. And within like a minute of me saying it, Joe Shane announced it at his press conference last night. His fifth-year option is $14.75 million. That's peanuts in today's NFL.
Yeah.
For edge rushers and stuff like that. It's a no-brainer to pick up his fifth-year option. So, I mean, now you get these guys together. Then you get Dexter. Remember, you added Chauncey Golston, who's another guy that can rush from up front in that scheme. So, suddenly your defense is becoming a super strength.
Yes. Again, I'm going to put a little sober take on this. I need to see the plan. Just based on how we came out of last year, you have good players that have got to be good this year. Now, I know there were some injuries, right? 58, Bobby O had some injuries, but he was not Bobby O. Deonte Banks took a step back. I'm on record, folks, in this again. I believe that Shane Bowen is a competent defensive coordinator. He's got a lot of toys to play with this year, and I would love to see a plan because they just gave him some things that will, if he wants to learn how to employ these types of players, go take a look at some old Giants film. Go take a look at some New England film. He worked under Mike Vrabel. Call Mike Vrabel. Because you got so many interchangeable parts now, there's no excuse. If these kids are healthy, you've got to have a plan that doesn't look vanilla. These kids are going to be hard to block. Um, People are saying, well, if he's if Abdul Carter is only 230 or 40 pounds, how's he gonna hold up against a 300-pounder? Well, the question is, how's a 300-pounder gonna catch a mosquito? It works both ways. Like if you put this guy and you move him around, that's not easy. Offensive linemen like stationary. They like to push a sled, if you notice, right? All you see when you're looking at training camp, they're pushing a sled. They ain't pushing little bitty things, right? That's the movement that will give them problems. And he's physical at the point of attack. But
Well, one other thing to that point. He's 21. He's going to grow into his body, just like every other 21-year-old does, especially professional athletes. They will fill out and they will get bigger and stronger and maybe even leaner or whatever.
Yeah.
So, it's a blank canvas right now.
Yeah, it is. And but there's a deadly triad just waiting to happen. I imploring Shane Bowen, and I'm not being facetious when I say it. I've had conversations with him. I know he's a competent defensive coordinator. If he's not excited about what he has now, and he's not in the lab, and he and his staff are just working different scenarios, I would be greatly disappointed. I was disappointed last year by the end of the year that they couldn't make the adjustments to stop the same thing they saw every week. That's not going to be acceptable this year. Whether you have injuries or not, you got to be able to make adjustments. And you can't throw up your hands and say, well, I don't have the players, because you got them. But I want to see a plan. I want to see, and I think he should be able to articulate the versatility that this personnel gives him. So I'm looking for improvement. Year one, let's just say it was a learning. Everybody was learning each other, right? This is the second season. I want to see him uncork this. And as you uncork things, don't alienate the other players that have skill sets. So we all get excited about the triad, right? Don't alienate Micah McFadden, because he's really good. Don't alienate Bobby O, because he's really good. Find a way to incorporate all of that, because it drives offenses crazy. That was the beautiful part about playing in a system when you had a lot of great players and great athletes. Myself, Pepper, and it's look, folks, I'm talking about the 1900s. So, but it doesn't change, and it's actually easier now with the whole area blocking situation to really get all of your athletes going. So, but when you have these interchangeable parts, God help the offensive linemen, because if you do it right, you're not vulnerable, they are. And when you got guys with these skill sets, have fun, have at it. I'm rooting for you, Shane Bowen. I think you are so capable, and I think you should have a lot of fun with this, but you got to get it done. I mean, there's no excuse when you have this level, and I think you should be excited. Don't feel pressure. You should feel excited, which I think he does. So that's that. Jaxson Dart. People said, oh, why did they trade up? I think you know why. But here's the other thing.
Before you get to Jaxson Dart, Carl.
Okay.
Joe Schoen had to make a deal to get Jaxson Dart. We have a deal for you right now.
Hey.
If you use the promo code at cherubundi.com and use the code Giants20, you're going to get a deal on Cherubundi. Now, I got the pouch. Yep, they got these gummies now, the pure gummies.
Sleep.
You have the sleep gummy, which is really good.
I needed it last night after the draft.
Then you got the bottles of it. So it comes in all shapes and sizes. This sleep one works great. Jaxson Dart we'll see this in the Giants locker room because every SEC team has Cherubundi in their locker room. So what is it? It's all natural, no sugars added, helps you with your recovery, helps you with soreness. Carl has the sleep gummies. This is the pure. It really works, Carl. I mean, all the top schools use it. All the national champions have used it since 2007. It's in almost every NFL locker room. And it's great because you could use this in a smoothie, the pouch. You can drink this. You can gummy this. And how'd you sleep last night? Because it does help your sleep.
It was a long day for me. And as soon as I got in the house, I took 2 of them and I slept well. No disruption in my sleep.
So go to cherubundi.com. Use the promo code Giants20. This is a limited time to get a discount on any of the Cherubundi products. You could also go on Amazon and pick it up as well. So, yeah, Jaxson Dart. They liked him a lot.
Mm-hmm.
They saw an opportunity to go get him, and they got him.
Yeah, and they didn't reach for him. As a matter of fact, I think we should give Joe Schoen a great deal of credit for just reading the draft, right? People, and this is what he does, right? But it should be said because he's come under a lot of scrutiny and, for whatever reasons, but he's not incompetent. He's not a buffoon, as people say. And if you look at the process of which he operated this draft, this first round, it's still more to go. And he's probably feeling like I gotta parlay this. But he read the entire draft, right? He watched the supposed number 2 quarterback just continue to slide out of the first round, right? He also knew, and people are trying to say that's not true, but he also knew that there was the LA Rams lurking, right? They only got a few more years with the guy they have in Jaxson Dart is a McVay type of quarterback, right? So they get down so far, and he's like, okay, I think we need to do something. And he trades back up. But the fact that they did so much work and due diligence on all of these quarterbacks, they got the guy they wanted. That is not a knock on Milroe. It's not a knock on Shedeur Sanders. It is the guy they wanted. They knew Ward would be off the board. Now they go to work and they spend hours, probably 100 man hours easily on these kids, interviewing them, talking to them, looking at their traits. And you have a head coach who knew what he wanted. And the guy was there. People say, well, why did they have to trade up? Like, a bird in the hand, folks, I'm going to give you something the old folks say. A bird in the hand, which is Dart, is worth 2 in the bush, a 3 in a 99. You don't know what that 3 is next year? You don't know what that 99 is next year? You got the bird in the hand that you wanted. A bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush.
When the Giants made the trade, everybody's buzzing. Everybody's texting each other, everything. My instincts as a play-by-play person immediately kicked in, and instead of returning these texts, I immediately noticed that the Rams are making a deal.
Yeah.
The trade's happening. Now, obviously with Charlie Weiss being a dear friend and someone that I worked with on Sirius XM NFL radio for a long time, we communicate a lot. Mm-hmm. And he was keeping me posted on teams that were showing a lot of interest in Jaxson Dart because his son is the OC. In fact, Jaxson Dart invited Charlie's son and his wife and Lane. They were in that room in Utah for the night. And I know that there were some teams that were extremely interested, and the Rams were one of the teams that were extremely interested in Jaxson Dart. And while everybody was kind of all excited and texting when the Giants made the trade up, I noticed immediately that the Rams were trading out. Now, I know that there's people, hey, Atlanta gave them a buttload of players and all these picks. I mean, they look what they got a haul back. But I don't think if the Giants jumped to the Texans, if the Giants didn't jump to the Texans, I'm pretty sure that the Rams would have said no to the deal, and they would have taken Jaxson Dart to be the understudy for Matthew Stafford.
100%.
There were a couple other teams, and the Giants did not have the first pick of the second round. They had the third pick of the second round. So who's to say Cleveland wouldn't have taken him? Because there were a lot of people that felt that he was going to be the second quarterback taken. I don't blame them at all. I'm excited about it. If you look at it, look, 60% of the draft picks in every draft never make it to year 3.
Right.
It's a crapshoot. They took a run at it. They got a quarterback in there in Russell Wilson, who is a proven winner. He's a 10-time Pro Bowler. And based on what you've done defensively and based on what you've done in free agency and based on what you do with the rest of your picks in this year's draft, not to mention there'll be another wave of free agency after the draft. I think they feel pretty confident that they're going to have a good enough team that they're not going to be forced to play Jaxson Dart because he's not ready to play right now. And I Bleav that he's going to the right place. He's a consensus builder. If you ask any of the defensive players from Ole Miss about him as a teammate, they rave about him. They used him to help recruit players in the transfer portal.
Awesome.
He's a natural leader. And listen, having Eli Manning in the building, even though Eli's not involved in football, but having him around just to be a sounding board can't be a bad thing either.
No, it's not. And there's so much information outside of the coaching that he's going to get from Shea and from Dave's. High character guy in Russell Wilson, high football IQ guy in Russell Wilson. You've got in Jameis Winston a fearless, competitive player. He's going to find bits of himself in every one of these established players. So he's going to learn this game at every level. He's in a grad school right now with those two players, and that's a luxury because most of these kids that are getting drafted, they won't have that tutelage to look at in front of them. Most kids that'll get drafted are looking at, okay, Cam Ward's going to look at, okay, I got to get ready to play right now, right? Or the guy in front of me, I'm going to beat him out in camp and then it's my job. This kid is like, let me learn. I got, some real pros, guys who have played at high levels that have put up big numbers and guys who have been MVP and have been to Super Bowls and won a Super Bowl. So that is the wisdom. And then the other part of that is you've got two veterans at quarterback that will have no problem whatsoever helping this kid become a pro, helping him become the best he can be, helping him see football at a graduate level. And I think that is the beautiful part about what Shane and Dable have put together. And maybe it wasn't by design, but that's what they have now. They've got high character, they've got competitiveness, and they've got two men that'll be able to teach this kid beyond what they're coaching him on, right? So they can break down and help him with everything that Shea or Dave's is teaching him. These two guys will say, hey, come here, let me show you how to look at this. Or he's going to look at it, it's kind of, and I'm not making this comparison literally, but it's kind of like the moment where Kobe Bryant was talking to Michael Jordan and say, hey, how do you do that in the middle of a game, right? That would be him watching either Jameis or Russell do something that just didn't look like it was supposed to happen. He said, why did you do that? Or how did you do that? Right? That's what he gets now. That's what they put together for this rookie. And the fact that they have the guy that they wanted, there's nothing wrong with that, folks. That is
Yeah, and they didn't give up a number 1 draft pick, by the way. They
right,
have next year's number 1.
right. So that's every GM and head coach's dream, to see a guy, scout a guy, and he's there for you when you're picking. And the fact, and then the other part that tickled me is that people are like, "Oh, this is the first time the Giants ever had a leak out of their building." I said, "Well, maybe they intended for that leak to come out of the building, because it was the Giants are torn between Dart and Shador, and Dable wants one guy and Joe Shane wants another guy." And you and I were at the power breakfast on Thursday, and the owner said that he doesn't even get involved in the decision-making process unless there is a dispute over, the GM and the head coach can't decide which guy they want, and he's the tiebreaker. He literally said throughout this whole process this year, Dable and Joe Shane have seen everything pretty much the same. Their process allows them, and he went through the Creston Center, the Creston War Room, if you call it, all the information they have. And Joe Shane went through how they process everything, and they bring everybody's opinion in at the beginning, and then they workshop, then they do it again. And then they workshop, and then they create every one of these scenarios until they come to a consensus. So it's not a matter of standing on the table and saying, "Oh, I like this guy. I feel good about him because I like his coach and his coach." No, they do the real work. And the funny story that John told about his father, the late Wellington Mara, who was at one point the only scout the NFL had, right? The football man. He said that his father's technique for, people when they strayed off the board, when there's the best player available, and that was Wellington's mantra, right? And he said there would be times in a room where you've got, scouts saying one thing and another guy said, "Well, I love this guy." And he said his father would just walk to the board where that best player available is and just stare at that. And everybody got the message. We're going to stick to our best player philosophy, or whatever that philosophy was. At that time, it was best player available. The process that Joe Shane and the guys that are doing this process, they are getting consensus. And the beautiful part about, and this is a shameless plug for Creston, if you guys, you need to see all the stuff they do. They get so much data and so much information. It allows them to really distill down to basically the minute details of a player to make sure everybody's on the same page.
Yeah, it was the Justin Tuck story. The Giants were in that round, and they had a cluster of players because they had them all stacked, row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4. And obviously other teams had drafted all the players in row 1, and the Giants had made their pick in row 2. And now they were all arguing about different players in this cluster of grades. Evidently, they had a higher grade on Tuck, and his was a lonely magnet sitting up in the column 2 or the bottom of column 1. And Wellington just walked up, didn't say a word, put his hands behind his back, stood about 1.5 feet from the magnet board, and just stared at Justin Tuck. And finally someone turned around and looked, and they saw, "Oh yeah, what are we doing? We're overthinking this. We got a first round, second round grade on this guy, and we're arguing about all these people that we have third round grades on." Hence the Tuck story. All right. You got anything else?
Yeah, I do. Got one more thing. Momo for fan of the year.
Momo, fan of the year? Why?
Momo fan of the year. Because he's fan of the year.
Okay.
Just go with me on this.
I'm going with you. Momo, fan of the year.
Fan of the year. Folks, vote Momo fan of the year.
Momo better have a mug.
Momo, we got to get you a mug. Momo's mug?
Go to Bleav. Shop at Bleav.com, and you can order your Bleav in Giants mug. Again, go to Cherubundi.com. 20% discount using the promo code Giants20. We love it. Carl's got and I have the sleep gummies. I like the liquid. It's tart like Jaxson Dart. And you can have the pouches too. How do we like to end it, Carl?
Tell a friend to tell a friend.
Bleav in Giants.